Welcome to Bria Technical Academy. Today we're going to be executing SQL statements from an Excel source and integration services. Let's begin by looking at our destination table. It's DBO cars. Let's go ahead and empty it out. Let's truncate the table. Okay, it should be empty. All right, it is empty. This is our destination table. Let's look at our source. It's in the Excel source folder, and this is the source. Execute SQL from Excel. Let's look at it. And as you can see, it's titled statements, and we have four SQL statements in the rows, four rows. And if you're wondering, it's a single column. We have an insertion for a Nissan, a Toyota, a Ford, and a Lexus. Let's go to integration services and begin our package, the creation of our package. Select integration services. Now, the first thing I like to do is to go ahead and create the variable that's going to store the record set from the record set destination. And I'm just going to title it record set. And this variable is going to hold the result set. And it's going to be object data type. Now let's go into creating our data flow. In the data flow, we're going to grab the source and we're going to store it in the record set destination, much like we would if the statements were in a SQL table. Whenever you're dealing with tables and you want to store it in the memory, the result set, you're always going to use record set destination, and the variable for table is the that type of table is always going to be record object variable data type. And let's grab our source. I think I passed it. Oh, there it is. Excel source. Let's configure this component. New connection. And let's find our path. This is our source right here. Okay. Let's select it in the drop down. And it's a single column, statements. We selected it. Now let's go into record set destination. Select that. And if you're ever quizzical as to what these components mean, you can just select on them here and then look down into the description and it gives you a full detail of what the role of the component is. As you can see here, it creates and populates an in-memory ADL record set that is available outside of the data flow. Scripts and other package elements can use record set. For example, use record set to store names of files that will be loaded into the data warehouse. Basically, it just stores out of the memory. Now, let's bring our source to the record set destination, and we let's select the column, which is statements, and we've already created a variable that's going to store our record set. And you scroll down to it, and there it is, record set. Now let's go back into the control flow, and we're going to grab our for each loop container. What this is going to allow us to do is loop through the object, and we'll be able to execute for each iteration or row within our record set. So it's going to be 4 times because we have 4 insert statements, collection, and since it's our source, what we're looping through is the object, we're always going to, is of an object data type, I mean, we're always going to select the for each ADO enumerator. And it's going to be our record set that we're looping through. Rows in the first table, even though it's only one table. Variable mappings. We could create a variable in here that's going to map over the record set into our loop. And we're just going to title it statements. Statements. There you go. Okay, we've got our statements. Now, our data flow, I'm sorry, our execute SQL statement, we're going to grab it into the for each loop. All right, let's connect to our connection manager. The cars table is in InventoryWorks 2012, and our SQL source type, it's going to be a variable, and it's going to be from our dynamic source, which is our for each loop container is where we created the statements. So we're going to grab that, and we're good. And since it's an Excel source and I don't have 64-bit on driver installed, I have to configure the bit and the properties, the runtime bit. So I have to go and select here, um, right click at the integration services project and select properties and come here, hit configuration properties, go down to debugging, and where it says run 64-bit runtime, set that to false because I don't have 64-bit driver installed. So that might cause the package not to execute correctly. Well, it will cause the package not to execute correctly. So I have to make that change. You may not because you might have 64-bit driver installed, but I don't, so I have to do that. Now let's run our package. And the operation was a success. Let's make sure. Let's check the table out. And as you can see, all of our statements were executed properly from the Excel source. We have the 4 entries, Nissan, Toyota, Ford, Lexus, from our source. And that is how you execute SQL commands from an Excel source using the file system. I'm, I'm sorry, using the execute SQL task, pardon me, and the for each loop container, and of course for our ETL operations data flow task. Thank you for viewing this video.